And it's shitty because by its nature, it goes to the mean, to the average. And it's not reliable. And I just can't even stand to see what it writes. Now, it's a useful tool if you're a writer and you're going, what's the thing? I'm trying to set something up, or somebody sends someone a letter, but it's delayed 2 days and it can give you some examples of that. I actually don't think it's very likely that it's going to be able to write anything meaningful, and in particular, that it's going to be making movies like from whole cloth, like Tilly Norwood. Like that.
So Joe Rogan just delivered a masterclass on why AI panic is engineered nonsense. And it's exactly what Silicon Valley doesn't want you hearing. He's cutting through the hype with actual data while everyone else repeats marketing talking points. This is media literacy in real time.
That's bullshit. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's not. I think it turns out the technology is not progressing in exactly the same way they sort of presented it. And really what it is going to be a tool, just like sort of visual effects. And yeah, it needs to have language around it. You need to protect your name and likeness. You can do that. You can watermark it. Those laws already exist. I can't sell your fucking picture for money. I can't. You can sue me, period. I might have the ability to draw you, to make you in a very realistic way, but that's already against the law.
He's absolutely right about the plateau. OpenAI's costs have exploded while performance gains shrink dramatically. GPT-5's marginal improvements at 4x the compute cost prove diminishing returns are real. But admitting this crashes billion-dollar valuations overnight.
It's incremental. I think a lot of that rhetoric comes from people who are trying to justify valuations around companies where they go, we're going to change everything. In 2 years, there's going to be no more work. Right. Well, the reason they're saying that is because they need to ascribe a valuation for investment that can warrant the CapEx spend they're going to make on these data centers, with the argument that like, as soon as we do the next model, it's going to scale up and be 3 times as good. Except that actually ChatGPT-5 about 25% better than ChatGPT-4 and costs about 4 times as much in the way of electricity and data. So when they say that's like plateauing.
Bingo! This connects directly to the current AI bubble dynamics we're seeing. VCs need exponential growth narratives to justify these insane data center investments, so they manufacture crisis scenarios. Media won't challenge it because tech companies buy their ads.
So when they say that's like plateauing, the early AI, the line went up very steeply, and it's now sort of leveling off. I think it's because, and yes, it'll get better, but it's going to be really expensive to get better. And a lot of people were like, fuck this, we want ChatGPT-4, because it turned out like the vast majority of people who use AI are using it as companion bots to chat with at night. And so there's no work, there's no productivity, there's no value to it. I would argue there's also not a lot of social value to getting people to focus on an AI friend who's, telling you that you're great and listening to everything you say and being sycophantic.
This is the smoking gun nobody talks about. Most AI usage is literally digital companionship, not productivity revolution. We're subsidizing loneliness apps with trillion-dollar infrastructure while pretending it's the next industrial revolution. The economics make zero sense.
So there's no work, there's no productivity, there's no value to it. I would argue there's also not a lot of social value to getting people to focus on an AI friend who's, telling you that you're great and listening to everything you say and being sycophantic. But that's sort of a side issue. I think for this particular purpose, the way I see the technology and what it's good at and what it's not, it's going to be good at filling in all the places that are expensive and burdensome and they make it harder to do it. And it's always going to rely fundamentally on the human artistic aspects of it.
Exactly the nuanced view that threatens the hype machine. AI as a sophisticated tool, not replacement, means steady integration rather than dramatic disruption. That realistic timeline doesn't support current valuations, so tech leaders push apocalyptic narratives instead.
People are contending with, and
so it just becomes about risk, and nobody wants to take the risk, so they don't want to make something new because it's such an investment and we're going to lose our fucking money. And the streamers have stepped into that, and no, you didn't have to necessarily have a star. You could try something more interesting, or it didn't have to be a superhero movie, whatever it was. And also, I think it's frankly, people my age, it's, first of all, it's expensive, right? You take your whole family, it's $100. You're on a streaming service, $20 a month. You can watch all you want. So you can't be cavalier about, you're just going to price it however the fuck you want and expect everyone to, be indifferent to that.
Streaming completely flipped Hollywood's risk equation. Netflix's subscriber model lets them greenlight experimental content that theaters would never touch. When your revenue isn't tied to opening weekend box office, You can actually take creative chances again.
You think you can make this work? We'll give you a shot. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So we had to say, look, we're not asking you to take a cut. But, you know, if we can, and we can tell you, if the movie is watched as many hours in the first 90 days as like this movie A, that you all know what it is, then that's, you know, 20% of your salary, let's say, right? I mean, you should take a hit. So it's like, yeah, you make more money, your bonus is more. It's all just pegged to where you're at, just because that was the most fair idea we'd come up with.
This profit-sharing model is revolutionary for Hollywood labor. Netflix supports it because viewer engagement data proves success better than box office guessing games. It's actually more profitable than traditional back-end deals when structured correctly.
And part of the negotiations is always like, yeah, but we're all going to get fucked. Like, we have no participation. Like, used to working on movies, and it happens to actors too, where you go, oh, we all invested, it was really hard, and we fucking put in the extra effort. Somebody else walked away with all the success. And, you know, my theory was with Matt was we were like, how about where, let's say, okay, it's just fairness, right? If this thing actually blows up and does really well, you should benefit from that. People have been, you know, kind of given sort of promises of participation back and haven't come true. So this is like everyone got their rates, everyone got their hourly, no one cut anything. This is just an exercise in actually proving that it's not bullshit. That if there's success, you'll get some extra.
This connects to massive wealth inequality in entertainment. Crew members create the actual product but get zero upside, while executives capture all profits. Media ignores this because entertainment conglomerates own the news outlets covering Hollywood.
This is a fucking hard job. And that there's a lot of value. Like these characters, the ones that are trying to do their job, are trying to get through the day, and just at the end of the day have done their job like they said they were going to do, you know, adhere to the fucking ethics that they're supposed to, and at the end of the day be able to sleep at night and believe there's some value in not fucking stealing the money or flipping somebody over, you know what I mean, and doing all that shit. And that's the win. The win doesn't have to be get away with the bag of money or fucking, you know, save the world from, you know, the evil scientist laser beam or whatever. It's like, at the end of the day, if you can fucking live with yourself and say, look, you know, I acquitted myself according to what the fucking expectations were and what am I true to my word. And I think there's that's a, I don't know.
He's describing everything missing from current blockbusters. Marvel's conveyor belt mentality killed character-driven storytelling in favor of spectacle sequences designed for global markets. Real moral complexity doesn't translate well internationally, so studios avoid it entirely.
You know, look, the fundamental like challenge I think in life is like to find some humility, which means actually thinking you might be wrong about the shit that you're pretty sure about, and it means that like you kind of have to assume somebody else might have a point. You know, it's not like just writing everybody else off who disagrees with you because, oh, fuck him, he's an asshole, he's that. You know, like those are things that actually take work to get to, because the first instinct, because you just defend your idea or whatever, it's easier is to just
that it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah,
somehow.
exactly.
Yeah, that two competing ideas can't exist.
Well, that somebody can't be a good person, like,
and believe it. Right.
Like if you decide, you can disagree, we don't believe so, or I don't know, what about this or what about that? But once you find yourself relying on like, well, I need to like zero out this person's humanity in order to defend my idea, I think that's a pretty good indicator that like there's something wrong with the way you're thinking. Like, because it can't be that you're right about everything and everyone else is bad who disagrees with you.
This intellectual humility is precisely what's missing from our political discourse. Social media algorithms reward certainty and outrage over nuanced thinking. The result is epistemic closure, where admitting uncertainty feels like weakness rather than wisdom.
Really regret. And, you know, was, objectively wrong. And other people have been like, I did that. I fucking, whether it's like addiction, I got myself down this fucking road. I did this. They're able to go, I did it. I'm sorry. It's real. I shouldn't have done it. It was wrong. Those people can become someone that's very trustworthy. Yeah. Because you're like, this motherfucker will say, if they've done something, they'll actually look at their own behavior. They'll acknowledge it. And then you feel good, and you feel much, versus someone who tells you like,
Cancel culture creates perverse incentives against this kind of accountability. When admitting past mistakes triggers mob punishment, people double down on defensiveness instead. We've made genuine self-reflection professionally and socially dangerous.
And you go on and you do your song and dance and they say the thing, it looks great, and nobody cares. Like, they're looking to go either because somebody they know says it's interesting or somebody that they is trusted, and a trusted person is in like you said, your feed, right? And it's your friend or your cousin, or they affix that to somebody, which has become a more rare thing. Like, who's a legitimate neutral arbiter, right? Who I can't predict what they're going to say before I go there. There are fewer and fewer of those people in the world, even those are proliferation of more and more voices. And it's kind of paradoxical. Like,
this explains the collapse of mainstream media credibility perfectly. When CNN and Fox became predictable partisan cheerleaders, audiences migrated to independent voices they couldn't pre-bake. Trust requires unpredictability and genuine intellectual curiosity.
And the amazing to me is, in a world where it seems like you can't get people to pay attention for more than, a few seconds, there's a kind of a hunger for that. So there's like this form, and that's why you see these are getting more popular. Obviously, you have this massive audience, and it's kind of flying in the face of the whole other trend. And I think, and I don't know, that it probably has something to do with like, who do I think is authentic? And am I actually willing to extend my 2 hours of my time to sit there and listen through? And that an argument that people probably do appreciate and understand conversations that have context and nuance and where there's like a back and forth.
Long-form content success proves people crave substantive discourse despite social media's attention fragmentation. 3-hour podcasts outperform cable news because authenticity and depth matter more than polish and production value when trust is scarce.